From a railway carriage, term 2, poem for standard 6. You find 3 pictures. All these pictures are about train journey. In the first picture, you find a small girl admiring the beautiful scenery through the window. The second picture shows that the students are excited about their train journey. In the next picture, you find the children bubbling with excitement and they are waiting for the train to start. Looking at these pictures, we know that children enjoy traveling by train. They have a great fascination towards traveling by train. Some enjoy traveling by train, especially to enjoy the gentle jerk, and some may like the whistling sound of the train, and some may like its speedy movement, and still others may like the sound made by the movement of the wheels. On the whole, we can say that everyone likes traveling by train, especially to enjoy the beautiful scenery around the landscape. From a railway carriage. Faster than ferries, faster than witches, bridges and houses, hedges and ditches, and charging along like troops in a battle, all through the meadows the horses and cattle, all of the sides of the hill and the plain fly as thick as driving rain, and ever again in the wink of an eye painted stations whistle by. Here is a child who clamours and scrambles, all by himself and gathering brambles. Here is a tramp who stands and gazes, and there is the green for stringing the daisies. Here is a cart run away in the road, lumping along with man and load. And here is a mill, and there is a river, each a glimpse and gone forever. By Robert Louis Stevenson. From a railway carriage is a poem written by Robert Louis Stevenson. He was born on 13th November 1850 in Edinburgh, United Kingdom. He died on 3rd December 1894 in Samoa. He was a Scottish novelist, poet, and a travel writer. He is most noted for his works, namely Treasure Island, Kidnapped, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and A Child's Garden of Verses. In this poem, he presents natural scenes seen from the window of a railway carriage. In other words, he describes the sights he notices while traveling in the train. Fairies, a small imaginary being of human form that has magical powers, especially a female one. Witch is a woman thought to have magic powers, especially evil ones. The very first line of the poem, faster than fairies, faster than witches. The poet says that the train moves more quickly than the fairies and the witches. Hedges means a row of bushes that look like fences. Here the poet says that the train runs very fast and it is moving through bridges and houses, hedges and ditches. In this picture, you find the soldiers rushing forward to attack the enemies. Here, the train rushes forward like soldiers who are attacking the enemies in the battlefield. The poet makes a comparison between the train and the soldiers here. Meadows means a piece of grassland, especially one used for hay. You can see the horse and the cattle grazing. The poet says that the speedy movement of the train not only leaves the bridges, houses, fences and ditches behind, it also leaves behind green fields where the horses and cattle are grazing. R.L. Stevenson says that all the scenes of the hill and the plain were crossed by the train very quickly, just like heavy rain. This is a picture of heavy rainfall. Heavy rain falls quickly and it is difficult to differentiate one drop from the other. In the same way, the train passes by the scenery so quickly that it is difficult to differentiate one side from the other. And ever again, in the wink of an eye, painted stations whistle by. Wink of an eye means very quickly or in a flash. The poet says that as the carriage speeds through the stations, they appear to be like painted pictures colored in different shades. Here is a child who clambers and scrambles. In this picture, you find a small boy trying to climb some wall or an elevated thing using both his hands and feet. The poet, when he looked out through the window of a railway carriage, he saw a child climbing a steep ground. All by himself and gathering brambles. In the previous picture, you saw a small boy climbing a steep ground. He did all by himself. He did not get the help of anybody to climb the steep ground. Instead, he used both his hands and legs to climb this steep ground to collect the blackberries which were found there. Here is a tramp who stands and gazes. Tramp means a homeless person. Gazes means looks. The poet also sees a homeless person who looks at the train with great wonder and excitement. Daisies is a small flower with white petals and a yellow center that often grows in grass. It symbolizes innocence and purity. As the train moves, the poet sees some ladies making garlands using these daisy flowers. In this picture, you find a cart driven by a horse. You find the cart driver sitting on top of the load. The poet sees a cart moving very slowly in the middle of the road. The cart was moving very slowly because it had a heavy load on it, and the cart driver was sitting on top of the load. And here is a mill and there is a river. You find two pictures, a picture of a mill and a river. Mill is a machine or a device used for grinding grain and crushing something into small pieces or particles. The poet gets a glimpse of a mill and a river as the train moves. Each a glimpse and gone forever. All the objects the poet saw from a moving train appeared and then disappeared very quickly. The poet was not able to look at them for a long time. He was able to see it only for a brief time. Simile. Simile is a figure of speech involving the comparison of one thing with another thing of a different kind. Alliteration is the repetition of usually initial consonant sounds in two or more neighboring words or syllables. Identify the figure of speech in the given line. And charging along like troops in a battle. The answer is simile. Pick out the alliterated words. Faster than fairies, faster than witches. Bridges and houses, hedges and ditches. The alliterated words in the first line are faster and fairies. Here the initial letter F is repeated in both the words faster and fairies. In the second line, houses and hedges are the alliterated words because the initial letter H is repeated in both the words houses and hedges.